video games. There's a lot of them. So many so that we had to categorize them like the dweebs we are. And for the most part, we did a pretty good job. Not bad, I gotta say. We've got role-playing games, we've got survival horror games, we've got naughty games. But there's one game genre that I never quite agreed with the name for. And that genre is Metroidvania. So, where do we begin? A good starting point would be the word itself. Well, in this case, it's actually two words. It's one part Metroid for the acclaimed sci-fi action game Metroid, and the other one's Vania. And now you might be asking yourself, what game is called Vania? And you know what? You got a point there. Vania is actually short for Castlevania, and while the series itself is very popular, we're gonna be talking about one game in particular because that one game is what set off the genre of Metroidvania. And now some of you more astute gamers are probably thinking to yourself, duh, obviously it's Metroid and Castlevania. Anyone with an ounce of true gamer would know that. And while you might be right that that's pretty common knowledge, not everyone's an ultra alpha gamer. So sometimes it helps to explain it. Go be fun at parties or something. You little scamp, you little alpha gamer, daddy's little gamer, you winning, son? But, and more importantly, that's only scratching the surface. You see, if you want to find out actually where to begin, we need to look at the games themselves. Here we go. Releasing in 1986, Metroid hit the scene and just blew people away with its ultra sci-fi atmosphere, with its space bounty hunter shooting space aliens on a space planet in space. But it's not Metroid that we're actually talking about. No, we're actually looking at one of its sequels, Super Metroid. This game basically took everything Metroid did and just made it better. You wouldn't think it was possible, but it did it. I'm talking more space, more bounty hunters, more pirates, more planet. It was just off the chain. It was anything a sci-fi nerd could have ever dreamed for. Oh, and a little hottie as a protagonist, but that might be a little spoilery. I don't know. And while Super Metroid hit worldwide acclaim and setting the bar for exploration, for the most part, it didn't really run into any competition of the sort. It was very one of a kind, and for that, it will always be a gem, but not for long. Oh no. Super Metroid came out in 1994. I should pop that in there somewhere. Oh no! Parallel to the Metroid series, though, we had Castlevania, which really set the tone for a gothic action platformer where you play the role of a vampire hunter, just hell-bent on beating Dracula's cheeks. And this game lived off of challenge. It was a hard game built on patterns that was ultimately incredibly rewarding to finally be successful and make a little more progress in it. And it was so popular that it did end up spawning a lot of games. And when I say a lot, I mean the game we want to actually talk about today is the 11th game in the series. That's right, a little game called Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Castlevania Symphony of the Night hit the scene, and much like Super Metroid, it just blew everyone away. It took everything that Castlevania was known for, and it just evolved it into something entirely new, while still keeping the core values of the game itself and being what it was known for. It really felt like a new direction and a perfecting of something new, a realization of an idea. And that is exactly what it was, a realization of an idea. The game's director, Koji Igarashi, wanted to break the mold of its contemporary competitors by doing something different. You see, most games at that point were becoming increasingly difficult and sort of gatekeeping new players because seasoned players were beating the games too quickly. Igarashi wanted to make something that would satisfy both newcomers and alpha gamers alike, and so he looked to other games for inspiration. And this is probably where you're saying to yourself, clearly he looked at Metroid. I mean, it came out only a couple years later. They both became the word that he just talked about. And while that is an easy conclusion to come to based on the information that I've given so far, you might be surprised that he didn't actually look at Super Metroid. No, you see, the game Igarashi looked at was actually The Legend of Zelda 2, Link's Adventure. That's right, everyone's favorite Legend of Zelda, the one that no one talks about, even though it did bring a lot of core gameplay mechanics that we see today, like downstab and Hyrule text. While looking at Link's Adventure, they really took note of 3 things specifically. One being the big open world that you run around in, having to go back and forth to progress through the story. The second being key items that you need to find to progress through said world, progressing said story. But the third one is the most notable. You see, Link's Adventure had a level up system, much akin to normal RPGs. Igarashi and his team saw this and they're like, I like that. That's, you know, I took a look at this and I thought to myself, that's not so bad. And so they did just that. Taking these notes and putting them into the Castlevania formula, it worked. It did the trick. It gave us a game that gamers had always wanted but didn't know. Despite being heavily inspired by Zelda 2 though, Symphony of the Night was directly compared to Super Metroid because they were both 2D side-scrollers. And ultimately, it's because of that that reviewers ended up coming up with the word Metroidvania. That's right, it was just some reviewers writing up an article and they were just like, oh, this really feels like the love child of Super Metroid and Castlevania. I think it should be called Castleroid. And then I'm assuming the other guy was like, no. And so, they presumably landed on the term Metroidvania, which, unbeknownst to them, would stick and become a genre-defining term for what seems like all eternity, at least of gaming. And while the core gameplay of both games are awfully similar, I don't think it's actually fair to generalize them into the genre that it is. Symphony of the Night feels more like an expansion and a perfection of what Super Metroid started. And in turn, the games that came from Symphony of the Night, that were inspired by Symphony of the Night, did the same to it, constantly pushing the boundaries of what we thought could be done, and really just blowing people away with the creativity that can be found in ways that you never thought a game could be. Personally, I think it's doing a disservice to those games. I mean, they work really hard to be original and cool. I think there's a Metroidvania that's just a pinball game. The Carry-On came out recently and you play a monster. It's very physics-based, but both get lumped into Metroidvania because there's backtracking. And realistically, that's what the term Metroidvania honestly feels like. It feels like, oh, it's gonna be a 2D side-scrolling game with a lot of backtracking. And when you say it out loud and when you spend some time thinking about it, that really sounds lame. That sounds like, why would anyone want to play that? It sounds dumb. But I'm a problem pointer outer. I'm not really a problem solver. I don't know what we should name these games. Personally, I think maybe Metroid-like or Vania-like would be a good route to go. That's what we do with the Souls games, and then from there we just kind of define them more into extra categories. I think that's a much better way to go. It gives more definement of what the games are, and I feel like it also helps the players get a better idea of what they're in for. But that's just me. I don't know. Like I said, not a problem solver. I just point them out. I just calls them as I sees them. But ultimately, these games begin with the player. While their core mechanic does come off as just 2D side-scrolling with backtracking, it's actually heavily invested in exploration, and it all comes down to you, the player, wanting to take your first step into that game world and explore and discover, and that need to find out what's out there and conquer it. So in that case, it might as well just be whatever you want it to be. Call them Metroidvanias. Call them Metroid-likes or Vania-likes. Call them backtrackers if you want. It's your adventure. Go and live it. Name it whatever you want. Let that be the legend. The legend of Alpha Gamer, bro. And with that, my friends, I think we've found where to begin. So that's gonna do it for me. This was the second day of trying to record this, and honestly, I feel a lot better about it. I'm hoping it'll come off a lot better. But yeah. I really like Metroidvanias, even though I hate the name. I think they're super fun. There's a lot of really good games out there if you haven't looked at them, because it does just seem watered down looking at that genre. Personally, my favorite one right now is Hollow Knight, but like I said, there's some really cool ones. Guacamelee looks pretty tight. There's the pinball one, which I think is called Yokus Postal something. I'll put it up on the screen, I'm sure. And Carry On is obviously really cool and pushes the boundary. A game called Cave Story is also worth taking a look at. Basically, it was a Metroidvania made by one guy that basically, it was one of the like leading games that created the renaissance of indie games. Also really worth checking out. I played a little bit of it for this video, but enough of that. Yeah, anyways, if you're still here, thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed. If you're not sick of me, if you're not sick of my voice, you can check me out over at twitch.tv/KaijuClub. It's just KaijuClub. That's right, friendship ended with underscore. New friendship now with no underscore. So that's pretty neat. You can also find me on social media, Kaiju Snacks, on all platforms of social media. That's my cat. She wanted to come in here, and now she wants to leave. So, but yeah, tell me what you think. Do you agree? Do you think Metroidvania is fine? Do you feel like me that it's doing a disservice, that it's not a good name? And you know, if that's the case, what would you call them? Like I said, I think calling them Metroid-likes or Vania-likes might not be a bad start, but it does feel kind of lazy. I don't know. You tell me. Maybe I'm onto something. Who knows? But I guess, like, comment, subscribe, tell your mom and dad, tell Jimmy down the street, but not in a weird way. I'd appreciate it. It'd help me out a lot. Maybe I don't know. I'm rambling. But yeah, thank you so much again. I'm gonna let my cat out, but you know the drill. Believe in the me that believes in you, and get buff. Get out of here. Go home. Dog bless.